See, and the funny thing about Asians and Indians and every other race that's here in America, they fly way under the radar. There's a racial war going on, and it's only between the blacks and whites. But we got a lot of Asian Americans, Native Americans. You know what I'm saying? We got Caribbeans. I guess sometimes the Caribbean is not really considered black. If you're really Caribbean heritaged, you're not really considered black. You stick in, because the Caribbean community is very strong. You got the Jamaicans, the Trinidadians, right? But it's a race war going on outside, and only white people. Like, look at all the other races. They get in that paper. I was hanging around these Arabs, young Arabs, not too long ago, and one of their customers was like, what do you do for fun? And these dudes was like, we get money. That's all we know. We came to this country to get money. That's all we know. We don't do nothing else. We here and we getting money. That's it. And I thought that was like a great representation of what the American dream is all about. Right? So, again, we got to figure this thing out. Because I don't know. You asking me, like, do I believe birds would be considered racist because they typically hang around their own kind? Then that's kind of funny when you think about it. That means out of all the amazing things that may happen in a red robin's life, it has mostly been seen by other red robins. All the downsides of that red robin's life, the same thing. The red robin, other red robins are more likely to see what they go through. Like, that's kind of crazy when you think of it. That's like, it's almost isolation, because red robins typically only see bluebirds either when they chillin', making a stop, or they see them in passing. But red robins and blue robins, red robins and bluebirds typically ain't hanging around each other. You never see that. And that's the same thing with animals as well. You never see whales hanging with sharks. You never see, wolves hanging with bears or tigers hanging with moose. You don't really see that. So, are animals racist because they do that? Nah. And, again, some animals can get along well with each other. I seen like a pig and a dog get together or something like that. That was crazy. You see weird connections, but again, it's rare. So, again, maybe the Jews have figured this thing out, and maybe they've tapped into that inner world where you can literally learn from anything. Question is that racist, or does that draw a divider on how connected we are to, let's say, animals? Like, who they hang with, does that have nothing to do with what an animal is? I don't know about you, but whenever I see a dog and a cat meet up, even if they live together and I'm visiting for the first time, I automatically, in the back of my mind, assume that they may have some beef. And then if they don't and they love each other, lovey-lovey, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, what? That's crazy. So, again, it works. It works. That's the same, you know what? It's same thing with fruits if you really think about it, unless you got a fruit basket. But think to yourself, like, when is the last time you had a fruit basket? Like, really ask yourself that. How often are you buying fruit baskets? Not often at all. But what you will buy and what you'll see in the grocery store is you'll see a bag of apples. The apples hanging with the apples. They separate the red apples from the sour apples to the grandmama apples. And they separate them, right? You got the lemons here. You got the grapes over there, right? So even fruit, it's not like the grapes is mixing with an avocado. Nah, grapes and avocados will never produce something together. At least not naturally. And that's all right. You keep the avocados with the avocados, and you keep the grapes with the grapes, and I'll be all right. I don't want to go deal through a damn fruit basket just to get my fruit. Seriously. I just want, like, I want my shit to be identified. And that's probably how we want with everything, right? So the question again is, are birds, our animals, the way we're harvesting our fruits, right? Our vegetables, are these things like a racist way of seeing life? Because maybe we're tripping as people, right? And hey, the Jews is doing it well. Can we all agree that the Jews is doing well? The Jews be getting that bread. And I'm talking about the real Jews. Not just like, yo, you're half Jewish or, you're a Jew. No, I'm talking about the real Jews. They have figured it out. And you know who else has figured it out? The Muslims. Nation of Islam, they figured that shit out. You can identify the Nation of Islam more than you can acknowledge a McDonald's employee, including with the logo on their shirt. The Muslims, oh my gosh. Nation of Islam, you can identify who they are. Anybody else is a culprit. If I put on a nice suit, if I put on a nice bow tie, I keep a nice newspaper in my hand, I'm just a duplicate of what the Nation of Islam, them people in them suits with them bow ties and them bean pies and them papers, they got that feeling like damn, no, that's Nation of Islam. Like, what does that person know about life? I just had a Nation of Islam dude, or he was Sunni or something like that. He just cut my hair. And I was asking him, I was like, yo, how did Malcolm X die? And then he looked at me, and then, boy, did he unload. This dude had just did like 15 years of prison, so you know what I'm saying, he was heavy in the word. Heavy in the word. And I'm like, I'm listening, and then he eventually said that it was the government and it was Elijah Muhammad and Farrakhan and them. That's what he said. He said he feels that it was both. He feels that it was both. And, at the end of that conversation, I could see that perspective. I'm interested to know, what do you think? Who killed Malcolm X? And then, so the crazy thing about who killed Malcolm X is people who believe that Farrakhan and Elijah Muhammad killed Malcolm X, they don't take nothing away from them. Like, they don't, so far, everybody that I've talked to, they don't take nothing away from the Nation of Islam, the side who killed them. If that's what really happened. And I think that's pretty amazing. That's pretty amazing. That would be comparable to like Obama killing bin Laden. And I think that's, man, Obama doing that's one of the things that we overlook. We hated bin Laden for so long. Like, he was the most feared man in the world. We hated him for so long. And the sad thing about when bin Laden finally got caught is nobody really cared. Bush tried to get bin Laden. Is it bin Laden? It's one of them heavy hitters. Obama got him. Who was it?
Saddam, and it was both of them, actually.
You don't know who it was. So, it was one of them. But one of them was like,
it was bin Laden.
Yeah, but I think Obama did a great job with that. If you think about how bad, like, think about September 11th. Whether they did it or not, that don't matter. It's kind of like believing Queen Latifah really killed herself in the movie Set It Off. Like, she played the part so well, you really think she killed herself. Like that. September 11th, oh my goodness. That was, you didn't like bin Laden. And when he went in there and did his thing, it was just like, oh, whatever. But you always know who caught who. And Obama came in and got that stamp. But again, that is the key. And shout out to all the Asians out there. Shout out to all the Indians. Y'all's funny. The Africans. Because sometimes Africans don't even relate to black people unless they watching Wakanda. That's the only time they may believe it. But other than that, Africans, they're Africans, not blacks. It's like Italians are Italians. They're not white. It's kind of weird. Because I don't believe Italians are white people. I don't consider them white people. I consider like the 60-year-old white man librarian, I consider him like a white person. But as far as like Italians, nah. The French, nah, I don't consider. If someone's really French, I don't consider them white. White is just like you don't have any other thing. See, like me, I'm black, but I got a little bit of Panamanian descent in there also. So I think that's dope. And it's like, ew, I got that Panamanian descent. So I'm kind of like mixed. I think most people are mixed. But when it comes down to it, we pick a side, like white or black. It's kind of funny. Team black, team white. But it's all good, you know? It's all good. So that's what we have to figure out. We have to figure out where do we fit in? Right? And does it matter who you're with? Right? Does it matter who you're with? Or should your core be your core? See, I like what is similar, like Do It All Do Kelly was on the podcast one time, and he was talking about the importance of giving back to your community, right? He didn't say giving back to the black people in your community. He talked about giving back to your community. Even when you leave and go to other places, always remember to give back to your community. So what Kevin Durant is doing right now, he just gave $10 million to Prince George's County in Maryland. That's pretty good. What is that $10 million going to? I don't know, nor do I need to know. Hopefully it's going to a good cause, and for somebody like Kevin Durant, I think that he did his due diligence and it's going to a good cause, at least a cause that he thinks is good. His money, so he could put it where he wants, but it looks like it's a good thing. Yeah, we should all aspire to give back to our community. And the cool thing about our communities, from what I hear, is your community wants you just as bad as you want to give back to your community. And when someone's giving back to the community, they typically uplift